Hello and welcome back to TMS TV. I'm delighted to be chatting to Gabby, Austen, Browne today. Gabby is the co-founder of Diversity Alliance and we're going to be talking about safeguarding in events. So Gabby, welcome first and foremost.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much. You do obviously a lot of work around diversity inclusion in the event space. So how does safeguarding come into that?
You know, for me, I believe that safeguarding should come into any D&I strategy because essentially it's around encouraging inclusive behaviours. So whether that is in the workplace, but more importantly on event and show floors or the events that we produce. And that includes creating safe environments, but you can't create safe environments without inclusive behaviours. And that understanding comes from the DEI strategy, education and learning. So that's basically what it is. It's creating those safe environments where people are free from discrimination or harassment.
So just on that then, could you sort of give us a broad definition of what safeguarding is? What might it look like?
Do you know what? When I've been having this conversation with a lot of people, because this has become a very important key topic for me, everyone has their own kind of definition of what safeguarding is, because safeguarding can be from the perspective of mental health and mental health awareness and mental health care. It can be around physical care. It can be around supporting young people and making sure that they're in a safe environment. But I think it all comes back down to people feeling that they're safe and respected in whatever, and protected in whatever environment that they're in whatever capacity that might look like.
So an event planner might be listening to this, watching this, thinking, but surely everybody at my event feels like that. What is the work that needs to be done to integrate safeguarding into events?
It's really easy to kind of assume that we are doing the right thing, but if we're not seeking that feedback from our attendees, our colleagues, then how do we really know? So there are some practical things that we can definitely do, which is making sure we have code of conduct, and I've obviously seen that the meeting show has a code of conduct, etc., making people aware of that code of conduct, because that brings some comfortability around for our colleagues and for our attendees as well. And just making sure that training is there in whatever capacity that is. I mean, ideally we want deep training for anybody who's on the show floor to feel like they are comfortable and confident to understand what a safeguarding issue is. So in this case what I'm talking about is around harassment and discrimination, and then how they respond to that. So we need to give the support to our teams to make sure that they're comfortable and confident in doing that, and then make our attendees aware that this is something that exists, that it's something that they can utilise and use to make themselves get a better experience. But that education, training, awareness piece definitely comes into it.
So it starts with education, awareness, and the awareness that actually you have to make a concerted effort to implement safeguarding.
Exactly, be very proactive about it, and try and understand. A lot of times you look from our perspective, me included, but then we've got to think about, from an age perspective, age perception, what could the experience be for an older person at your event? Are we considering them? So that's why the education is so important, because we always think about things in our terms and our kind of inner circle or our wider circle as well, and our experiences.
So perhaps event planners are, and rightfully so, incredibly busy, but they think that every delegate is them. They are the ideal delegate, perhaps actually. So it's looking at different perspectives and breaking down your delegate data.
Exactly. Definitely using the data piece. Yeah, that's really important. It's a very good building block for any sort of inclusion, equity, accessibility sort of work. So as soon as you have that data, and that can mean qualitative as well, obviously talking to people, talking to your attendees. And let's not forget ourselves as well. We're involved, we're here on a day-to-day basis. It's also about protecting ourselves and our colleagues and our suppliers and everyone else, all of our stakeholders essentially.
So just on that, event planners being busy and perhaps thinking, it's another thing to consider, another thing to implement. Say something happens at an event, an issue arises. Who's responsible for the safeguarding piece? Who would you recommend that falls to in a team?
Do you know, it's really interesting because I just did a session around safeguarding and it was super interesting. And somebody flagged, and I thought, actually, this is a very good point, particularly sort of an event like this. We're in a venue which has got multiple other events taking place, right? So actually, the venue has some sort of responsibility for safeguarding of all people that are within their venue. So say if something happens in the communal spaces, in the toilets, etc., it's outside of our event space and remit, therefore the venue needs to be responsible. But then we need to come down to our responsibility as organisers. I think what mechanisms are we putting in place? what training is there, what guidelines are there, how are we communicating those. So then that does really become our responsibility. And then again, for people on the show floor who might witness an incident or who might experience something or somebody comes to disclose, then we've got responsibility. So it's kind of a bit of a responsibility of everyone, really. It's not one, I don't think it can be one person or one institution, one organisation, you know.
So it's a group, it's a collective effort.
Yeah, so which means we need to have risk assessments. This needs to be included, like we have our health and safety policies and procedures. Safeguarding needs to have its kind of a similar thing and remit as well with regards to that.
You mentioned that TMS, the meeting show, has a code of conduct, and lots of organisations will have their individual codes of conduct. But do you think there needs to be an industry-wide sort of zero tolerance pledge almost towards safeguarding?
Yeah, I really do, because sometimes we have to really, really highlight and magnify something to get each other to take notice. There can be lots of brilliant, beautiful conversations going on in the industry, and people care about respecting and supporting each other and making each other safe, which is lovely. But if we're all in our own collective kind of groups doing this, not collaborating, I don't think we move as quickly as we could, and sometimes it's not taken as seriously as it could be. So having something that's industry-wide, is saying zero tolerance campaign, particularly around very serious safeguarding issues such as sexual harassment and sexual assault, and that's not just from the female lens, that could be from a non-binary lens, that could be from a male lens as well, which I think we sometimes forget. I think something like that is super, super important, because that's kind of the pinnacle of like behaviour that really should not be taking place in this day and age. So I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I'm going to be asking companies and organisations to signing a pledge that zero tolerance policies need to be in place, and that anybody who witnesses or experiences can be safe in the knowledge that if something as serious as that occurs, that person is out, so we can feel safe. I know some people don't come to events now because they feel unsafe to come, and we can't have that.
No, that's not inclusivity.
No.
And like you say, safe in the knowledge that you're going to be safe at an event.
Yeah.
Gabby, thank you for taking the time out of your day to come and talk to us.
Thank you
and
so
I hope
much.
you enjoy the rest of the show.
I will. I'm so excited to get a chance to go and look around now and catch up with some people. So, great show.
Brilliant. Enjoy it.
Thank you.